What if I told you something that's probably sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now, something you barely even think about, was once actually more valuable than gold? I mean, something that literally fueled empires, started wars, and yet it was also seen in traditions all over the world as this powerful tool for, like, purifying things, warding off bad vibes, and even attracting good fortune.
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But it really speaks to the hidden depth and power of something so fundamental.
Right. So today we're doing one of our deep dives, and it's all about salt. And yeah, not just the stuff you put on your food, but the incredible journey of this crystalline mineral through history, from the earliest civilizations right up to modern industry.
Exactly. And we really want to unpack its, let's say, enduring role in culture, in spirituality, and how, across so many different traditions, it's been linked to practices aimed at clearing energetic blocks, things that people believe help attract success or, financial flow.
Okay, so let's start with the basics then.
Yeah.
What is this stuff, chemically speaking?
Well, fundamentally, it's sodium chloride, NaCl, that's the chemical compound. But it naturally forms into these distinct crystalline structures we recognize as salt.
And it's essential for life.
Right.
Like truly essential.
Oh, absolutely vital. Our bodies rely on it for just so many basic processes. Things like maintaining the right fluid balance, making sure our nerves can fire off signals properly, getting our muscles to contract.
Yeah.
If you don't get enough, things can really start to go wrong. Dizziness, confusion, in really severe cases, even serious neurological issues.
I think I remember reading somewhere that animals kind of instinctively know this. They'll go to great lengths to find salt.
They totally do. It's actually fascinating. You see wild animals actively seeking out natural salt licks in the environment. Herbivores especially, because plants are generally pretty low in sodium, so they need that extra source.
Right.
And you see some incredible behaviors because of it. Elephants literally digging deep into the earth for salt-rich soil. Or, get this, even butterflies sometimes consuming animal dung just to get that vital sodium.
Wow. That's commitment. Shows how powerful that biological drive is.
It really does. It underlines just how essential it is right across the animal kingdom.
So where does something so basic, so life-sustaining actually come from? On Earth, I mean.
Well, the vast majority of it, the huge underground deposits, actually comes from ancient oceans. We're talking millions of years ago, huge seas dried up, and they left behind these incredibly thick layers of crystalline salt.
Okay.
Think of places like the famous Salt Mountains in Pakistan or Poland. Those are basically remnants of prehistoric seas that got pushed up over time. There are even massive salt deposits deep beneath cities like Detroit, left over from when ancient seas covered North America.
Ancient oceans under Detroit.
Yeah.
That's wild to think about. So how did early humans start getting at it? It must have been really difficult.
Oh, incredibly difficult early on. For literally thousands of years, people relied on pretty basic methods. Evaporating water from salty lakes, they did this very early in China, or boiling down brine from springs to leave the salt behind, or just literally hacking away at exposed rock salt deposits. We found evidence of rock salt mining dating back as far as 6,000 BC.
6,000 BC. Wow. And then I guess the Industrial Revolution must have just completely changed everything.
It was a massive shift, yeah. Suddenly you had steam engines. They were powerful enough to pump water out of deeper mines, which meant you could get to salt beds that were unreachable before.
Okay.
And steam-powered drills could cut through rock much, much faster. So the scale of production just exploded. Salt became way more abundant and cheaper than it had ever been.
Right, paving the way for the huge industry we see today.
Exactly. Modern production is really sophisticated. You've got things like solution mining, pumping water down to dissolve the salt, then pumping the brine back up. There's still large-scale rock salt mining, but with massive machinery and huge evaporated salt operations using giant ponds or computer-controlled vacuum evaporators, plus, conveyor belts, underground pumps. It's all highly mechanized.
And who are the big players now, globally?
China and the US are the top producers by a significant margin. Then you've got countries like India, Germany, Australia following behind.
It's quite a journey, isn't it? From digging it out by hand 8,000 years ago to these massive automated systems and global trade. Thinking about that scale and its history as white gold, it really gives you a sense of its enduring power and value.
It really does. Because for millennia, salt wasn't just valuable, it was survival. Plain and simple. Before refrigeration came along, salt was pretty much the only effective way to preserve food long term. Meat, fish, vegetables,
How did it work exactly?
It basically draws moisture out of the food and out of any bacteria present. It creates an environment where harmful bacteria just can't multiply. So this allowed early societies to store food, survive harsh winters, travel longer distances, build bigger communities.
Makes sense.
It was even used for preserving bodies. The ancient Egyptians used a natural salt mix called natron for their mummification process, starting way back, maybe around 2600 BCE.
And that power to preserve, to make things last and be transportable, that gave it huge economic power, right? I've definitely heard the connection to the word salary.
That's probably the most famous connection, salarium. It's Latin, basically meaning salt money. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid, or at least part of their pay was an allotment of salt because it was such a vital, tradable commodity.
Wow.
And that's the direct root of our modern word, salary.
Literally getting paid in salt. That says a lot about how much it was worth back then.
It was absolutely fundamental to economies. Salt created these incredibly powerful trade networks. Think of the salt roads across Europe or the huge trans-Saharan trade routes in Africa moving massive amounts of salt.
Right.
Cities that happened to be near major salt sources, they often became incredibly wealthy and powerful, and access to salt was so critical, wars were literally fought over controlling the sources.
And governments cottoned on pretty quickly that they could tax it.
Oh, absolutely. Some of the earliest taxes we know about in history were salt taxes. We're talking over 3,000 years ago, back in the Zhou dynasty in China.
Wow.
And later on, you had really oppressive salt taxes like the infamous gabelle in France.
Yeah.
That tax caused so much resentment, it was actually a major contributing factor to the unrest that eventually led to the French Revolution.
Wow. From a basic need to a revolutionary spark. And it's still a massive global industry today, right?
Right.
Even if we don't use it as cash.
Yeah. The global market is valued at, over 25 billion US dollars this year. It just demonstrates how something so simple, so fundamental, can hold such immense, concentrated value across time. It kind of makes you think, doesn't it, about where real value and abundance come from. It's not always complex things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's locked up in the most essential resources.
And that deep understanding of its value, its power, it naturally spilled over from the physical and economic into the symbolic realm, right? Into culture and spirituality.
Exactly. It wasn't just seen as a useful commodity, it took on these deeper meanings, these almost, you could say, magical properties in people's minds.
Like what specifically?
Well, across so many different cultures, salt became this really potent symbol, often of purity, of permanence, like things that last, and also divine protection. The ancient Greeks, for example, used salt in offerings to their gods, believing its purity made it worthy.
Right.
And there's this incredibly widespread belief found all over the place that salt could ward off evil spirits or just general negativity.
We still see hints of that in religious practices today, don't we?
We definitely do. In Judaism, the Shabbat challah bread is dipped in salt, partly to recall the ancient temple sacrifices, which always included salt. In many Buddhist and Shinto traditions, salt is used ritually to purify spaces, creating sort of symbolic barriers against harmful influences. And of course, in Christianity, you have that famous phrase from the Sermon on the Mount, "You are the salt of the earth," which symbolizes believers acting as this preserving, purifying, moral force in the world.
And then beyond the big religions, there's this whole other layer of more personal sort of energetic or spiritual uses for salt, right?
So absolutely, a really rich history there. And it mostly centers on this idea of salt having unique energetic properties. Like a really common belief is its ability to absorb and neutralize negative energy.
How does that show up in practice?
You see things like mopping floors with salt water, specifically to cleanse a space energetically, or placing bowls of rock salt near windows or doors to act as a protective barrier. Some people even carry a little pouch of salt with them for personal energetic protection when they're out and about.
Interesting. And it's often used for cleansing oneself, too.
Yes, very much so, for physical, mental, and spiritual purification. Salt baths are probably the most common example. Using sea salt or Epsom salts, which are magnesium sulfate but used similarly, the idea is to feel lighter, release stress or energetic gunk, even cleanse your aura. It's seen as this powerful detoxifier on multiple levels.
What about using it to create a positive atmosphere?
Yeah, that's another common use. Trying to foster harmony or just good vibes in a space. Some people create a salt circle around where they meditate or around a candle to define and purify that sacred space. Or even just a simple warm salt foot soak at the end of a long day. That's a traditional practice believed to help ground you, pull out scattered energy, leave you feeling refreshed.
I think I've also heard about using it to sort of cut ties with negative things, like bad memories or unwanted connections.
That's right. Practices like putting a bit of salt under your pillow. The intention there is often to help release nightmares or symbolically sever energetic cords to, unpleasant memories or people or situations you want to move on from.
Okay.
And yeah, people sometimes use salt to cleanse spiritual tools like crystals. Though you have to be careful there, salt water can damage some types of crystals, so it's not a universal thing.
It's really striking, isn't it, how all these different beliefs from all over the world seem to converge on salt as this powerful cleanser and protector. It feels like it taps into some kind of universal intuition about its energy.
It really does, and that lines up quite well with principles you see in modern practices like manifestation or law of attraction, where clearing out old energy and setting clear intentions are seen as really key steps to attracting what you desire.
That connection is exactly why looking at salt's history feels so relevant now, especially if you're interested in attracting things like maybe financial abundance into your life.
Right. Building on that long history of salt influencing energy, some specific practices use these properties with the direct intention of, say, unblocking financial energy and attracting prosperity.
Okay, so how might someone actually do that? Is there a specific ritual or practice based on these ideas?
Well, there's one particular ritual described that combines salt with very focused intention for financial well-being. It's actually pretty simple in terms of what you need. Just a container, some tap water, and salt, either fine or coarse salt works.
Okay, simple enough. Is there a specific time you're supposed to do it?
Yes. The guidance for this particular practice suggests doing it at either 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. The idea behind that timing is that these are considered moments when, as one source puts it, a sort of spiritual portal opens up, making intentions potentially more powerful.
6 a.m. or 6 p.m. Interesting. Okay, so what's the actual process?
You take 7 pinches of salt and add them to the water. And while you're adding each pinch, you repeat a specific affirmation or prayer. The wording given is, "In the name of Jesus, may all doors open for me. May all the negative move away from my life. May all the money I want manifest. May prosperity flow in my life without ceasing. In the name of God, it is done. Thank you, thank you."
7 pinches, with that specific affirmation each time.
Got it.
What happens after you've added the salt and said the words?
The next step is you wash your hands using that salt water. But the key here isn't just, physical washing, it's the visualization that goes with it. As you're washing, you intensely visualize the salt water literally clearing away any blockages, any negative energy, anything you feel is holding back your finances. You see it dissolving those barriers and washing them away.
So the visualization is crucial. And then what do you do with the water?
After washing and visualizing, you dry your hands. Then the instruction is to take that container of salt water outside your house and throw the water away, like onto the ground outside. The symbolism there is about removing that negative, blocked energy completely from your living space. And by doing so, you're opening up the space for prosperity to flow in.
Okay, so it's really a combination of the physical elements, salt, water, but powered by the intention, the belief, the focused visualization, and saying those words with conviction.
Absolutely. The emphasis is very much on faith and belief. Believing that the clearing is happening, truly feeling the positive outcome you desire as you do it. That's considered the vital ingredient for the ritual to be effective. It connects right back to that ancient view of salt as more than just a mineral, but as a tool, almost a magical element for influencing reality.
That makes a lot of sense, tying it back to salt's long history with purification, protection, and even that salary link, suggesting value and abundance.
It really bridges that physical world with the energetic, drawing on thousands of years of belief about salt's unique properties.
If this specific ritual resonates with you listening, or maybe if you already use salt in your own practices for cleansing or protection or even attracting abundance, we would genuinely love to hear about it. Please share your experiences or thoughts down in the comments below.
Yeah, definitely. Those personal insights are fantastic and really help everyone see the diverse ways people connect with these ideas.
Absolutely. And we've traced salt from ancient oceans and Roman paychecks to these spiritual practices, but its story is also deeply woven into the modern industrial world on a scale that's almost hard to grasp.
Oh, it's totally fundamental there too. It's not just for seasoning. It's a basic chemical raw material. It's used to produce essential industrial chemicals like chlorine, caustic soda, soda ash.
Which are used for what?
Oh, everything.
Okay.
Making plastics, paper, soap, detergents, textiles, the list goes on and on. It's a building block for countless manufactured goods.
So it's literally hiding in plain sight in so many things we use every single day.
Constantly. Think about winter driving millions of tons of rock salt go onto roads for de-icing. Why? Because salt lowers the freezing point of water, stops ice forming. It's also used for controlling dust on unpaved roads and construction sites.
And still vital in food production, right? Beyond just taste.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still a key preservative, stopping bacteria growth, extending shelf life for so many foods. Plus, it's essential for controlling fermentation in things like making cheese, pickles, sauerkraut.
And let's not forget iodized salt. On a massive public health scale, adding iodine to table salt has practically wiped out iodine deficiency disorders in huge parts of the world. A really simple, incredibly effective public health measure.
Its usefulness just seems endless.
It really does. Salt compounds are used in paper mills. They help dyes stick to fabrics and textile making. They're key ingredients in soaps and detergents. It just underscores how vital it still is in our modern infrastructure and economy, even if we're not bartering with it anymore.
And then finally, we still interact with it directly in obvious ways, through cooking and even some therapeutic uses today.
Totally. Just walk down the aisle in a grocery store. You see sea salt, Himalayan pink salt, kosher salt, all these varieties. Chefs depend on it not just for flavor, but to balance sweetness, improve texture. In baking, it actually controls how fast yeast works and strengthens the dough.
Right.
And curing meats and fish with salt. Still a major technique used all over the world.
And the whole wellness world has embraced it too, hasn't it? It has. Salt scrubs are really popular for exfoliating skin, getting those minerals. Salt therapy rooms, halotherapy where you breathe in fine salt dust, people use that for respiratory relief. And salt lamps. Well, scientific claims are debated, but they're incredibly popular home items, often bought with the idea of purifying air or just creating a nice calming vibe.
It really is this amazing substance that connects like the most ancient human needs and beliefs all the way through to complex modern industry and even our personal wellness routines.
It's quite a story, isn't it? From being literally worshipped and used as money, to purifying our homes energetically, to making our cars drive safer in winter. Salt's journey is remarkable. It just shows how the simple crystal has held such profound, multifaceted meaning across thousands of years and countless cultures.
An incredible journey, highlighting its enduring power. So here's something to maybe leave you thinking about. How has this simple, seemingly abundant crystal managed to hold such consistent power and meaning across vast stretches of time, across incredibly diverse cultures? What might that tell us about where true value really lies? Or maybe about the power of focused intention? Or even about those deep, often hidden connections between the physical world we see and the energetic forces that might shape our lives, our fortunes?
It's a fascinating question. Perhaps its fundamental nature just resonates with something equally fundamental about how the universe works.
Well, we really hope this deep dive has shed some new light on the surprising story of salt for you. If you found it valuable, if you learned something new about its history or its uses, or maybe its potential energetic side, please do give us a like.
Yeah, that thumbs up really helps us reach more people who are curious about these kinds of connections.
And definitely, if you want to keep exploring these hidden histories, uncovering the extraordinary within the ordinary things around us, make sure you subscribe to our channel.
Thank you so much for joining us on this salty journey today.
We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.